The video game industry has been growing for several decades and is now bigger than ever. In fact, the video game industry is so big that it is bigger than the film, television, and music industries combined. With how large the video game industry has become, it is not a surprise that there is so much media based on video games. Several people have talked about what makes for a good video game adaptation, but movies and television are not the only products being made about video games. With the announcement of the partnership between Merlin Entertainment and Minecraft, that got me thinking about video game attractions. What do they look like? What is a good video game attraction? And are they even a good idea? Well, let's find out.
Brave the 10-story freefall, play in the new Pac-Man Playfort. There's a wetter Thunder River, new shows, and more.
So come on out to Six Flags, come and see what we dreamed up now.
To discuss whether video game attractions are a good idea, I need to first talk about how video games made their way into theme parks in the first place. The history of video game attractions begins in 1983. Bally Manufacturing, who owned Midway Games, bought Six Flags. This led to the introduction of the first ever video game theme park section, Pac-Man Land, at Six Flags Over Texas, Six Flags Over Georgia, and Six Flags Mid-America. Pac-Man Land was a children's play area themed around the iconic video game character Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man. This section included character meet and greets, different areas for kids to explore, and activities for them to do as well. While this area did not include a ride, it was the start to video games being welcomed at amusement parks. 6 years after Pac-Man Land was opened, Six Flags acquired the rights to use Looney Tunes characters in the parks, which led to the replacement of Pac-Man with Looney Tunes.
But who would have thought that you'd find a mysterious ancient temple in Ohio? Get ready to experience the Far East in the Midwest.
In 2001, a movie based on the hit franchise Tomb Raider was released into theaters. Expecting this film to be a success, Kings Island opened a new ride at the park themed around the Tomb Raider movie. Opened in 2002, Tomb Raider the Ride was an indoor top-spin ride with heavy theming around both the movie and the games that came before it. Upon entering the queue for the attraction, people can see a car from the movie. Continuing to follow the ride's queue, people enter a temple full of rumble, scaffolding, and various movie props. At the end of the queue is a pre-show explaining the story of the ride, which follows closely to the film. The ride itself has even more theming from the movie, with a giant statue of the main deity featured in the ride and the movie story. There was even a piece of music composed specifically for the ride that included part of the movie's soundtrack. Overall, this ride was a major step in the right direction for video games making their way into theme parks, even if it was themed around the movie and not the games. Variations of this ride made their way into other theme parks also. However, the death of Tomb Raider the Ride came when this ride was rethemed to the Crypt in the 2008 season. This happened due to Cedar Fair's acquisition of Kings Island. While I cannot say if this ride was good or not, as it closed well before I would have been able to go on it, I appreciate the amount of detail and depth that were put into the ride's theme.
Hey there, and welcome to Sonic Spinball! I hope you're all ready for some high-speed fun! I just can't wait!
The next ride I'm talking about is Sonic Spinball. Alton Towers opened the Spinball Wizard in 2004, a spinning roller coaster themed around pinball. While this ride was not a major attraction, it was announced in 2010 that it would be rethemed to Sonic Spinball as a partnership between Alton Towers and Sega. This ride, a part of the retheme, was painted red and blue and featured new music, signage, and audio from the Sonic character. Upon opening, Sonic Spinball featured a voiceover by Roger Craig Smith's Sonic, and this was before Roger Craig Smith's first appearance in Sonic Freeriders. Along with this ride, the partnership also included a Sonic the Hedgehog themed room at the Alton Towers Hotel. While this ride was just a retheme, it was still one of the first ever video game attractions to be built, and was an interesting way to include the character into a park.
So, you want shock therapy? Start your treatment these holidays. New Arkham Asylum coaster at Movie World.
Another rethemed roller coaster was located at Warner Bros. Movie World in Queensland, Australia. Originally opened as Lethal Weapon the Ride, themed around the Lethal Weapon film series, this ride was rethemed to Arkham Asylum Shock Therapy in 2012, themed after the Batman Arkham Asylum game series. A part of this change included lots of new Batman themes, especially sections to do with the Joker, and a new ride vehicle themed around the Batman Arkham Asylum theme. Similar to the last ride I talked about, this was just a retheme of another ride and not a brand new ride designed around a video game from the ground up.
New Angry Birds Land and 4D cinema experience. This is Thorpe Park Resort, an island like no other.
When it comes to video games, most people tend to forget about how important mobile games have been to help the industry grow. One of the largest mobile games is Angry Birds. And because of this massive franchise, it was able to have a Angry Birds Land opened in 2012. Opened at an adventure park in Finland, Angry Birds Land was the first ever major section themed around a mobile game. This section included a gift shop, several carnival games, and a kids ride. People walking around Angry Birds Land could even encounter an environment that looked like it was taken right from the game, and a person in an Angry Birds mascot costume. While this may have been the first Angry Birds Land, it would not be the only one. 2 years after the first one was opened, a new Angry Birds Land was opened at Thorpe Park in England. This section included a 4D theater, a drop tower, and a bumper cars ride. Both Angry Birds Lands stayed open until 2023 when the license expired and they both got rethemed. Again, these lands may have captured the world of the game, but they were targeted at children and did not really do anything that was too revolutionary or unique to the game. Before I talk about the biggest video game expansion to come to any amusement park, Super Nintendo World, I'm going to go over some of the other video game rides. Firstly, at Futuroscope, a Raving Rabbids ride was opened, known as the Time Machine. This ride took players through time to see how the Raving Rabbids made history. Another ride, located at Carowinds, was the Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 3Z Arena ride. It was a shooting gallery where people could take aim at the screen and shoot the zombies. A more impactful ride was an immersive indoor gaming themed park in Dubai known as Hub Zero. Opened in 2016, the park had a lot of partnerships with many major gaming companies to have rides themed around Gears of War, with a laser tag arena called Gears of War Laser Siege, a Resident Evil ride where you shoot zombies known as Resident Evil Bioterror, a 4D cinema themed after Azura's Wrath, a robocoaster called Dragon Age Flight of the Wardens, a simulator ride themed after Final Fantasy, and many more gaming-related attractions. Unfortunately, this place was unable to stay open and closed. Finally, a few other rides are a Mass Effect themed simulator ride at California's Great America, a limited time Final Fantasy VR ride at Universal Studios Japan, which was a part of Universal Studios Japan effort to bring attention to other franchises and comics and games. And lastly, an Uncharted Dark ride at PortAventura World was opened.
Here we go! Woohoo! Hello!
Now that I've talked about most of the video game attractions, it's time I talk about the one that truly comes to mind when I think about these. When it comes to video game attractions, none are more impressive than Super Nintendo World. Opened in 2021 at Universal Studios Japan, Super Nintendo World was a major addition to the park. Unlike previous theme park expansions, this one fully captures the essence of the Mario series, looking like you stepped into the world of the game. Super Nintendo World has a cafe that sells food inspired by the Mario series, themed around Toad, an interactive dark ride based on the most successful Mario spin-off Mario Kart, a ride where you ride on top of a Yoshi, and even a band that can interact with the environment and let people collect coins. This world is truly something special. This world was so successful that it came to Universal Studios Hollywood and is coming to the upcoming Epic Universe Park in Florida. Not only that, but an expansion to this world, adding Donkey Kong, is also in the works. Super Nintendo World is a great step forward towards even better video game related attractions and has incredible attention to detail. While this may have been the biggest gaming attraction to date, it proves that gaming can be adapted as an attraction with enough effort. Overall, the history of video games and theme parks follows closely to that of video games themselves. As video games became more popular, more video game attractions got made. Looking back at all the video game attractions I talked about in this video, only the Rabbids ride, the Uncharted ride, and the Super Nintendo World ride are still in operation. With how many of these rides failed to stay open for a substantial time, brings up the question of whether they are even a good idea. In my opinion, while it is obvious that video games are difficult to recreate as an attraction, with enough effort, like with what was shown with Super Nintendo World, they can be made into great rides. In conclusion, my hope is that the upcoming Minecraft attractions take note of what previous video game rides have done wrong and improve off of the issues and failures they had. Thank you for watching, and make sure to comment down below whether you've been on any of these rides. And look forward to seeing you in my next video.